Hello, everybody. Hi there, ho there, hello there. I'm just now going again. Hold on, give me a time. Second. Come on, where is it? Come on, let's do it again. We're trying to make the thing work. And it's not sharing. Something's wrong here. What's happening? Well, hello there, everybody. Hi there. We're trying to share the link on the well, it's going to be a completely screw up. Why is it not being a good boy and girl? It's there, the live stream's up. Okay, I posted on the X, so therefore it is. I see one person. Hi there, everyone. Hello. It's me, Cliff Bates. It's the Friday live stream. I hope everyone is alive and well and enjoying things. Where is my videos? Hold on. Okay, whatever. Okay. Well, the card today, well, it's there. Again, everybody, hello. We're in a minute now. It's everything. It's been a busy, well, not really. I was kind of out of it. I had my busy teaching week. My new week, as you know, it's Monday, Tuesday teaching. So I have all my classes Monday. I did my first quiz. I have to go do my second quiz from the Introduction to Politics. I'm going to grade it tonight. And the students tomorrow, I'm going to grade tomorrow the turn-in assignment for my federalism class. I haven't written up the thing out. I think I'll do it this week. I'll probably do it Sunday. I think I will do it Sunday. I'll make the new list for the students to do. That's why it's not going to be due this week. It'll be due the following week on the states and the things like this and the question of this. But having, again, 7 questions. What about, so it's been kind of a tough week in that sense. My wife went to do something and came back. She went on Wednesday, and Thursday I came down something with Wednesday. I was feeling, you can hear my throat. See, this hoarse. It's like, I have some kind of a little bug, and it's there. And I was kind of like in bed. I was supposed to go check something today, yesterday, and I was going to do some recordings, but I did some recordings today. We're almost near finishing up Discourses Book 1, and I need to get ready for the next part of Discourses 2, which is 33 chapters. That will do it. I made my to-do list for work, and voila, it's going to be busy. And I posted my paper for the Midwest at the Midwest thing, so I did that. I converted it to PDF. Still, I really should put footnotes in it. It is done. It is kind of there. So the paper really needs some notes and reference, some sites. I didn't put any of the sites in it. I didn't engage the secondary source. I have the secondary literature in ready, and I know it. I just didn't. I didn't necessarily think I needed to engage any of it in the body of the paper when I wrote the paper. Maybe I will. If I'll do it, but I will put the notes, and I have to go put the notes in it. So that's one thing that's left. But for the purposes of the conference, I probably won't. I won't add the notes yet. I'll wait after the conference with some feedback. Because I've discovered that that's probably usually the best way to say when a source is useful or not. That's the basic thrust of this week in that sense. I wish my finals class went better than it did. It got derailed basically because students don't remember much from their lectures. And I had to go over things that were from the lectures that, that I should not have had to go over again. Particularly things like political parties and things like that in America. Because I wanted to highlight the question of in the states about the nature of the structures of states that by which political parties emerged. And we used, I tried to introduce the ending of the previous week. We ended at Daniel Elzar's stuff on political culture. And I wanted to show about the way political culture, that model, which then is a useful model to address issues of people, migrant, the different ethnic communities that emerge. And using this model, you created a typology model that allows you to kind of explain why they behave certain ways. This is Elzar's classic conception of the three types of political cultures: individualistic, moralistic, and traditional. Becomes a useful kind of Weberian type ideal type that therefore allows us to not, you can look at different communities and see how they fit to the type, and then you can then engage in kind of what we call methods of trying to explain why in certain states, or why in a state, certain parts of the state in certain aspects have a certain tendency to vote this way, and other people would have a tendency to vote that way. And this model actually does a pretty good job helping to understand these differences and explains why in some parts. And actually, you tie this also with voting behavior stuff. The voting behavior aspects, it helps you understand the electoral college, election races and the work they do. You get a better understanding of why, the kind of knowledge that it helps you to operationalize the kind of information that you can get from the pollsters. Like someone like Rick Barris who talks about this, he knows it from looking at what survey data does them. But now what we can do is you take that survey data and explain, well, why do the vote, is it because these people, this group has certain traits that lead us to favor individualism versus moralism, and this is why they support certain policies, because these policies connect more with either a moralistic, individual, traditionalist approach. In other words, again, this is a very thing that I think it's useful to understand this. So that was, and therefore I talk about, I go so much background information that I really should have been in some of their lectures. But the students are, Polish students, the new generation is kind of having bulimia, educational bulimia. They don't remember or retain anything they take in the lectures, or they don't see the importance of it. And then when you have to go another course, when you have to use it, it's like not there, and you have to spend as much time repeating things that you should not have to repeat. So it's very frustrating in that sense. That's a very frustration thing. The introduction to politics course is going all right. I kind of a little behind in it, just a little bit. But I'm where I should be in terms of what things are. But I think I spent too much time on a point that I could have. We have to go through the idea of the nation and how the nation becomes viable politically because of the modern conception of the state. We dealt with the difference between the ancient form and the modern form. For those who are interested in the modern form, you can go find out the ancient form. Sorry, I have my little booklet, my on ebook out available. You can go buy the ebook. I don't know. Is it still available? Hold on, let me see. It's on Kindle. Let's go Kindle. Hold on, let me just. Let's see. Yeah, Kindle. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, good. Yay, I'll go here. You guys. Oops, Daisy, sorry about that. Hold on. I'll just put the link here, and you can see the ancient one. I should maybe do the modern one soon. So voila, Hulu, yoo-hoo. So therefore, that's it going on. I read this book. I don't have my Antifa book, so it's upstairs. I had to write something. I wrote something up. I was helping some students talk about fascism, and we went through it. And we went through. I said, "This is Paul Gottfried's classic book." I mean, it's 2000. 2000. It was published in 2017 in time, 2016, 2017 hardback, and now it's a paperback. This is a Northern Illinois University Press, where I went to get my doctorate, right? But it's distributed through Cornell system. It is a part of the Cornell system. Gottfried has this. This is basically a very good introduction to the concept of fascism, the concept and the development of fascism. It has a no nonsense approach to it. It defines it in chapter 1. It deals with the totalitarianism and fascism and how they're connected and how they differ from each other. Chapter 3 is fascism as an unconquered past. Chapter 4 is the fascism of the movement of the left. This is as a movement. This is why we have to understand that fascism is not a right-wing phenomena. It is a product of left-wing structures. In other words, the chapter 5 was the failure of fascist internationalism, and that's it. And then chapter 6 is the search of a fascist utopia. And then chapter 7 is the vanished reactionary right, a thing about the way of the reactionary right and the aspects of this. The fashion book is a very good introduction. The second book that is important to deal with this was his 2023 book, 23 book, Anti-Fascism, which it's upstairs. And the other thing, I was mad. I thought it was going to come down here with me. I had my wife bring some stuff down, and it wasn't one of the books. I think I left it in the thing over there. And I said, "Oh, she didn't." I must have not have put it with the pile of the other things. So here, I had a couple of students. We had a round table with some students about this on. I think we did it on Sunday. I think we did it on Sunday. It was a quick round table about these two books and about these things. My students get copies through that illegal place, Library Genesis. I bought physical copies because I wanted to support. I always buy physical copies when it's a good book like this. Who knows? Maybe if the end of the world and all tech goes, there's still books there. So, this is a very Gottfried's book on fascism and anti-fascism is a very good book. The anti-fascism book is a very important book because it deals with Antifa and the connections of how this works and the hypocrisy of it. And he gives a very good explanation of how anti-fascism was the communist strategy to justify their approaches to violence and things like this. Now, I took notes and I wrote something for my students, or the group I was working with on last week on this, and I sent it to somebody. I sent my notes to, at least edited. I kind of ran through an editor, a text editor, to clean it up some verses from notes for that. And I sent it to somebody, and I hope they're going to want to publish it. Okay? If they publish it, I will tell you guys that it's out, and you can see what my thoughts are about this. But again, this has been a very important thing. The other thing is the ISI book of the month, conservative book of the year. This was Seth MacLennan's book, To Overthrow the World: The Rise and Fall and Rise of Communism. This is a massive book. It is over like 490 something pages. How many? Almost 500 pages. Yeah, indexes. The index, you get the index. The notes end on page 50. What's it? 507, and the index begins. So it's a huge index. It's indexed. It's a very good book. He's a professor at Stanford. He was educated at Stanford and the University of California system, intellectual history guy, specializations in Russian and Turkey. His famous book is The Stalin's War, A New History of the World War II. This book got the award it did by the International Studies Institute, the kind of conservative, think tank and student organization, that they awarded it their book of the year. It was published, I think, It was published in last year, 2024. So it's got the 24. They recommend books of the year. My friend Dan Mahoney really recommended this book. I read parts of it already. It's a very good read about the history of communism and that stuff. It actually kind of, to my mind, I spent a lot of time on communism because I studied under people like, oh God, some of the people I studied with in high school and university were students of Robert Conquest and people like this. And I remember reading one of Conquest's big history of communism. I read Leszek Kolakowski's famous The Main Currents of Marxism, that 3-volume The History of Marxism, which is now published in a single volume. In college and university, we read all of Marx, but not only Marx, but Lenin, Stalin. We read the classical. In fact, this is my joke. When about 12 years ago, I was coming to bring my whole library to Poland, and my wife was with me, my Polish wife, and she just refused. She didn't let me bring my science fiction books that I had, all the science fiction paperbacks that I had. She said, no. She kind of boycotted it. Now she's kind of regretting that because now she's into Dune, and therefore she would have access to some of the good the mass market paperbacks I had of classic sci-fi. But what else I had was that she said no to was the complete Lenin, the complete Stalin, in these volumes of the stuff that were, in the 70s and 80s, the communists used to, the Soviet Union used to publish these things in mass and distribute them and sell them, subsidized, to kind of spread the ideology in the West. And I had the translations were kind of crappy. So the paper quality was kind of crappy. It was not. It was okay. It was cheap, but it was the whole works. But my wife said no, and they didn't come. But so therefore, this new book is it reinforces everything and I think this is what maybe most people who didn't grow up in like I did in the late 70s, who saw the communists firsthand. Many of the kids today, my students are not only born after, they're not even, they never lived under the communism, my Polish students, Most of them were born after September 11th, even. So, so it's many of the kids that I have in my class in my undergraduate program is just born after September 11th. So 2001. So it's like it's amazing in that sense. So therefore, this is the McKeekin book is a very good and very useful introduction for people who want to know more about communism and a kind of not a cheerleading. Okay, I know people want to watch. I mean, there's always, of course, the fat electrician guy who is part of the unsubscribed people. I know this, because of my own background and some of these things. I know people in the military and vets and things like that in the U.S. And I do like watching them goof around. It's hilarious. It's entertaining. I prefer them. I mean, I'll watch a Joe Rogan podcast that entertains me, but or that I'm interested in for some matter. But watching these guys just goof around, guff around, sometimes it's useful, sometimes interesting. But I always watch the fat logicians there because he'll always have a good story telling what he's working on. But the fat logician's joke is that he hates communism. He hates communism, and the fat electrician's anti-communist thing's hilarious. And this is a guy who is like born after like in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. He's about 20, late maybe late 30s. He's 30, so he was born like in the 90s. So it's like, wow. And he, so many years in the military, working class, and he's going to school to get his history degree. And he's learning how he hates it because academics are kind of lefty, crappy idiots. And I know this as one, right? So, why I mentioned it because I think I'm almost tempted to say I think the fat electrician might like this book. I think I need to tweet him. I have to poke him a little bit on this. Hey, fat electrician, you should. Okay, we have a joke. I could even do it now. No. Yeah, why don't I do it now? Let's go like this, and of course, to overthrow the world. This is not the only book he had in that sense. Well, I don't need audio books. All books. It's hardcover. Yay! I have a book. Hey, fat electrician, I have a book I think you might like. And voila. And voila. Okie dokie. Well, therefore, that's it on this. I did it. I think, again, it is a very good introduction book. Those who want to study, want to know more about communism. And what's so interesting is the sections about why it's, his last sections, communism in practice, right? Communist part 1 is communism in theory. Part 2, communism in practice. And then he talks about the the Mao moment. Chapter 11 is the Mao moment, coming Asia, how Mao alters this, and then the world turns. The world has a turning to our direction. Communism goes global, right? And 13 is the Red Guards and the Khmer Rouge, right? And then from selling Jews and Germans to sports and summits, socialist feminism and the Stasi, right? And then last is his reckoning communism under challenge from Afghanistan, Reagan Ratchet. And he goes epilogue, the August coup and the non-death of communism. In other words, he talks about 1991 and the August coup, and and how he says it died, but it really hasn't died. I think this is a very good book for that purpose. It was, it is kind of what it is for the purposes of this. The other thing I needed to do, and I'm going to put it over here for a second, is to talk about this book. This is by Hale Brands. This monster. I finally got a copy of this. I had the earlier one, The Makers of Modern Strategy. That was earlier edition of this, and then this is the new one, The Makers of Modern Strategy from the Ancient World to the Digital Age. It is a fantastic reader. It is a collected essays of things like part one. It's edited by Hal Brand in a classic edition. The foundations and founders of grand strategy in that sense. There's things on the idea of grand strategy, Thucydides, Polybius, and legacies of the ancient world, Machiavelli, then Clausewitz, then the idea of the Thayer, Kant, people like Alexander Hamilton and the financial schools of strategy, economic statecraft, and then economic foundations of strategy. Hamilton enlists a different approach. Then he goes strategy in the age of great global rivals. Again, this is very different essays from the early times in the 19th century to throughout the 19th century, and then it turned to like the 20th century. And then his part 3 is strategy in the global, an age of global war, right? It deals with this First World War, Second World War, and then like this, and then strategy in the bipolar area, the Cold War period. That was part 4, and part 5 is strategy in the post-Cold War period. I think this was published in 2023, 2 years ago, by Princeton. It is a very monster book. It is. I really recommend for those students who are doing strategy and great strategy and things like diplomacy. This is a must read in that sense that it will give you background about master strategy. Again, if I was teaching a course back on grand strategy, I would, those of us who wanted to do this, we wanted to hold a course and do courses on grand strategy and things like this. And this is the kind of this would be a fantastic source book to work from in terms of trying to explain these things. About introducing the key concepts of strategy to students interested in this. Again, this is statecraft. This is about statecraft, and particularly in statecraft in terms of this. We're at the 28-minute half hour mark. The other thing I got this week was the third book. Jonathan Sumpton, the former High Court judge, he's the Supreme Court Justice, British judge on the British Supreme Court, who retired. He was from 2010 to 2018. He stepped down. His lectures, Trial of State, is probably one of the best lectures. The lectures about the threat by judges to democracy. And this is some of his essays. Challenges democracy and the rule of law. If you've been following David Starkey's attack on the idea of the rule of law as rule of lawyers through his addressing of Starkey's looking at Tom Bingham, the man who helped create the Supreme Court, and the way his political theory of and jurisprudence understands that the rule of law means not what we understand it is, that procedural justice. The rule of law, as we understood it traditionally, was merely that there is going to be a transparent procedures and it's clear, and there'd be equality under the law. In other words, there would not be special preferences for people. There's transparency, and the judicial and procedures of courts are open, transparent, and people would have the fair process, and there would be equality. In other words, that no special treatment for one group of people at the expense of others. Whereas what Bingham and Crowd argued was that no. The rule of law means you have to privilege minorities, that it is explicitly anti-democratic. It takes the liberal democracy. The argument of liberal democracy was really the danger of what happens when you have majority rule. Okay, this is the classic position, the fear of the Federalist and many of the of Tocqueville was that simple majority rule would lead to basically in large scale societies would be difficult and not necessarily possible to get in large scale societies, majority populations or majority opinion. But in small scale, in most places, when you have majority opinion, it becomes relatively oppressive, the argument goes. So therefore, the idea is that, how do you, maybe you should check, we don't want pure majority rule. We want majority rule that does not become majority tyranny, right? This was the idea. But the problem with this is that there's a risk to that. That yes, that democracy can become oppressive, but the danger of this is once you start putting kind of counter-democratic, counter-majoritarian mechanisms at play, this allows powerful localized interests, powerful small localized interests to seize those mechanisms and use it to advance their agenda against counter-majoritarian positions and agenda. And the court was supposed to be kind of like, okay, the American idea and the British idea. Remember, the British court was appointed by the crown, and that they served at the crown's pleasure. And remember, the king could always, remove them by, having his parliament declare them, impeach them. And impeachment works differently in the English system. It's a purely political move. And if they feared them, there would be a secret meeting of the parliament to basically issue its of very powerful people who were seen that they could influence. They would be dealt with through what is it? Not what do you call it? Oh, come on! A specific bill that actually kills you. It's in fact, the American Constitution prohibits these. I'm blanking on it. I know what they are. So therefore, the American rule kind of, even that the British kept that until the modern period, because that was the mechanism they used to keep, because they had aristocrats. They had people who had these lord titles who were not necessarily easy going to become under the normal courts. They needed these extra mechanisms of control against them, and that's why they had them. Now, these could, therefore, a egalitarian republic would look at these as kind of as a threat to it. But they're not, at least, what is it? I'm forgetting the word. I apologize. It's my old age. It'll probably come to me. It's not ex post facto law. It's not writ of attainers. Writ of attainer. In other words, attainer. A writ of attainder it's a mechanism by which the parliamentary procedure will vote to just kill somebody. So attainder is not it's the Constitution explicitly denies attainder, because the idea was that there was going to be equality. There were not going to be people who are so powerful who are above the law, which the English court you had because of nobility who were exempt from the normal courts. the common courts, and therefore they could be above the law. Therefore, you needed a tainer to deal with these very powerful people. Americans thought there's no nobility, no that stuff. So therefore having a tainer would be seen as a threat or an abuse that we're not going to have. Now, why am I talking about this? Is because I think Starkey's examination of England, the way Bingham, what he does in it, Bingham is clear in his essays, his lecture plus the book, is that this is supposed to be not, it's kind of majoritarian. You're supposed to pick privilege. You support the oppressed minorities or marginalized minorities. And Starkey is absolutely right here on this point. This is where Starkey hits it right on the head of what's so dangerous about what Bingham is doing. Now, of course, all this is done with good intent. Remember, the road to hell is paved with good intention. The problem here is that the good intention is the most noble intentions, but this creates a system that therefore creates two-tier justice. And once there's two-tier justice, there's no longer equality of the law. And then once you say that, therefore, if the majority now becomes the people who gets no rights, who are below the law. In other words, this is what's so more dangerous, damning of this, is that the idea that no one should be above the law is a valid claim, but also no one should be below the law as well. And this is what two-tier policing in the English example, and also in America too. It's not as bad as in England, but it's there. It was there for a long time because of what the Democrats did and how they did it, and how they're putting social pressure. Like they would deny people judges and juries. They'd hold prosecutions in places knowing that they could not get a fair trial. They did this. This was intentional and purpose, the way they conducted lawfare. That they purposefully pick people, and they put pressure. They would put social pressure on law firms and lawyers. And anyone who tried to do certain clients, you dare not. You saw, you can even say this. You saw this with after Me Too happened. The lawyers these nice liberal lawyers who defended Weinstein became, oh my God, how dare you defend Weinstein or somebody who does something we think is horrible like this. In the old days, the ACLU and those people used to, like in the days I remember in 1980s and 1990s, the ACLU and these people defended the right of people to defend the undefendable. Not only the right to speak and talk about this in speech, but also to defend people accused of the most hideous crimes, in crimes that justice required that even they get a fair trial. And that this is the danger of what happens is if you rig it so they can't get a fair trial, then there's no justice. And if there's no justice, what do people have? When there's no perception of justice, what do the people have then, therefore, who believe there's no justice? They have only turned to violence. In other words, self-help. That's the whole problem. Go back to Hobbes, what Hobbes teaches in his Leviathan argument, that we create the social state in order to escape violence. But once the social contract is, and what is that? The law of the state is there to ensure the protection of population. It's supposed to protect their rights and to secure their safety, their persons and their possessions. If now the state does not, is going to say some people don't have, their persons and their possessions are not going to, then they basically say you've put them back in the state of nature, where it's the war of all against all. Now, some people are now going to be allowed to be in the protection of civil authority to have their things done, but some other people are now thrust into the state of nature, but not in the state of nature, because in the state of nature, they'd have the right to self-defense, right to use violence against those who are acting violent against. But no. That is denied to them. That's the hideous aspect of this. Well, no, we're not. We're in civil society, and now our civil society rules are going to you can't complain now, because this is like what? This is vengeance for previous, because you guys weren't just to Negroes and gays, and now you're going to feel the revenge. This is the sad truth of what is going on in that sense. This is, in other words, the victims now are the victimizers, and they have the power, and they want to be. This is the danger of this, giving these people this kind of power. They have no desire. They want to victimize and retaliate, and therefore this creates what in the Greek world was, the cycle of violence, of revenge. So what's going to happen is the new people are going to want revenge for that. And I always said to people in England, you have to be careful. The white working classes are probably you piss them off and they get violent, it's going to be a genocide. And I will not feel sorry for all the minorities who believe the English word, who are right now benefiting from the system, when they feel they have nothing to lose, and the white middle class decides that they're fucked as well. It's over. And I think this is what what's his name? Oh, come on, death. I know his book is over there. The nice gay guy. He's like the nice neo-Connie gay guy. I forget his name. It's his strange death of the death of Europe. Madness of crowds. Douglas Murray. Doug Murray is said that in an interview, saying, "Well, you better be careful because you keep on pushing this. That organic, what do you call? Indigenous people of England might kind of retaliate against the colonizers, right? That famous interview he did with what do you call it? Those two guys of, oh come on, that Russian Jewish guy and that British kind of comedian. I forget the name of that. Not Spike. I'm just forgetting names. But this leads us back to the Stumpton book. It's basically a series of his 13 essays that he wrote for the magazines over the time between, this is published it was published this year, so it's out. This is a new first edition in that sense. And he just talks about things, the politics and the state, democracy. This is all these things about this. His discussion of Hong Kong and how Hong Kong was doing, and then the legitimacy of the law, entrenchment rights, and the rule of law and human rights. And then his things on international tribunals for and against, and then the danger of mission creep of Article 6 of the Human Rights Convention, how that has been dangerous, and the European Union and the nation state argument. And last is his free speech and its enemies. So, this is a very interesting book for this point of view, because it continues. I really should ask Professor Starkey about Sumpton, because remember, Sumpton is interesting himself, because even though he's a judge like this, he was a medieval historian also, who's written about the 100-Year War. He's written about the 100-Year War and the English-French War, therefore about the reigns of basically Edward the Third until the reign of the Henry the Sixth, right? These are the kind of things that Sumpton wrote on multi-volume account of the 100-Year War and the different kings. And I think this has been a good, Sumpton's an interesting. I would like to hear Starkey David Starkey thinks about Sumpton in that sense. That's another thing I should ask. I should get my nerve and ask him about it. And last but not least is I got the new Joseph Wood book about Pierre Menat, which I need to go read and spend some time with, which is going to be some interesting. Now we're at 45, and I need to respond to the Corlitz's post. He thanked me. One thing he talked about was he asked me about it was an interesting art thing about what is it? It was an interesting thing about. I need to. Yeah, he rubbed. Oh, someone just 21 hours. I want to rub your head, or should I call it Fortuna? Okay, that's another joke. It was disappeared. I don't know if I applied to it. He obtained a book about Claude Monet's Trivelli works of Machiavelli, and I gave him the link to the Machiavelli book, the English translation of it, and said that. In other words, is it one of the better studies of Machiavelli? And I said, yeah, it's okay. It's more Lefort's basically attempt to do this. The English translation is problematic because the English translation cuts out all the good stuff. His engagement of Strauss and engagement with the other writers that he worked with in that sense, the kind of it cut out a lot of things that were there, engagement with some of the other commenters on this. So therefore, he's kind of like there's a lot of French books who have this, and therefore they just focused on the Machiavelli section and not really cut out some of the esoteric stuff. What else? The other thing is his post about that was thanks for the discussion on Gouchet last week. I was thinking of Gouchet again by reading Mahoney's piece about Hitler. A couple years ago, Gouchet caused controversy in France by pointing out that Le Pen was not a fascist in the 1930 sense. Part of the left were angered that he was normalizing the far right by saying this. I wonder if the cursed fixation on denouncing fascism on the left isn't a kind of avoidance of the crisis of democracy, and how to address it, and the problems with integration and religious and so on. I think you're right, and that's why. By the way, your comment fits in what I said earlier about some of my thoughts about Godfrey's book on anti-fascism, because we have to understand that the anti-fascist movement, in other words, is primarily a party of the left. It is attacking the fascists as a means to kind of remember the whole point was that it was to justify the communist actions against Western Europe. Okay, that after in other words, this is why you see this to this day. The KGB guy like Putin is still using the kind of thinking that that Ukrainians must be Nazis in a sense because they're Nazis. They're I need this. This is the Russia will raise up and fighting against the Nazis again. He needs that. In other words, this is the way. It's not that it's for the revolution. In other words, the communists use the fear of fascism as kind of a visceral means I'm fighting against the evil people, and this is therefore it's not. In other words, it's not an attempt to justify their own ideology, but trying to avoid addressing, as you say, yes, I think that's right, avoid addressing their ideology by dealing with this. It closes off discussion. Yes, it stops. We're fighting the bad guys. These people are the bad guys, and therefore the enemy of the people and the revolution and the people. So therefore, let's just do this, but not addressing their complicity with this. In other words, and the way they did things. So I mean, I think you're right here to talk about how it's that their fixation on denouncing fascism on the left isn't. It isn't. isn't a kind of avoidance, avoiding the crisis of democracy and how to address it. Right, exactly. And the problem of immigration, religious change, and so on. In other words, immigration change is the way to stop any critique of it. Because they think, again, I think the left, the radical left, thinks that all these changes and disruptions of things are going to bring about the revolution. Okay, you destroy the family. You destroy. In other words, go read Engels and Marx about what, and Lenin and things like this. In other words, they adapted these kind of policies, hoping that by attacking the family and attacking these structures, that that the roots of the system, the capital system, or the resistance to a thing would not be strong. Being so demoralized. I mean, this is Basimov's point, the demoralization point, right? That once you start demoralizing them, you destroy the family, and the family is a very source of authority for most people in that sense. That this is the place of this is their foundation, this is their ground, this is their safe haven. That once you destroy the family and you demoralize it, this is a demoralization of the society to a great thing. And that therefore, once you demoralize it, that society will not be as confident in resisting the revolution or the forces of revolution. And you can co-opt them. This is something that, that woman historian that's on YouTube lately, I forget, I don't know, I remember her name, but she's on YouTube a lot and doing short videos about her talks about World War II and about the communists and about Mao. Said Mao, he embraced feminism, embraced the women, because this was his means to achieve help by the groups that were kind of being oppressed, or then he embraced them. But then once you win the revolution, what happens? Well, you welcome the Tibetans and the in the struggle of the fight against the nationalists, you welcome the Tibetans and the Uyghurs and things like this into your struggle, revolution, because you say, you're a champion, I'm going to champion the peasant, and these things, right? And then what happens once they've won and have all the powers of the state, they can now say, well, we didn't mean that really. That was only said because we needed you, and now we don't need you. So bang, 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 bang. Okay, that's the problem. And this is what happened with the left and a lot of the left within the communist left that happened. That once Lenin and Stalin Stalin is not the bad guy. Stalin is not the deviation. It's Lenin. Lenin is the one who begins all the, it's not that Stalin is this retrograde position violating Lenin. Rather, I think Lenin sourced in Stalin this idea. You have to remember how Lenin betrayed Trotsky in the before the revolution, in the marginalization of the Bund and the International. How he basically the Bund, the Jewish Bund, who was belonging with, in other words, that Lenin wanted to have all control within the central committee of the party, and didn't want other factions having it, and therefore, or democratic process or debate and discussion. He wanted it to be an efficient top-down command structure without any debate and things. And the older socialists wanted to have debate and wanted questions, problems of, when there was a dispute between Lenin, with one of Lenin's most effective assets being a horrible person who then accused, an important party member complained that his wife was scandalized and destroyed by this person, and she committed suicide because of the lies the guy said and accused her of. That he wanted the party to remove him, but Lenin said, no, this is a private matter. No, not getting involved. No, why? Because this guy's too effective. No, he's useful for the party. I don't care about how he fucked over this other guy. That guy is okay. He's he's supported, but he's not as important to the party's success as this guy. Okay, and Lenin only cared about the success of the revolution. So therefore, you want to point to someone like Stalin, and Stalin is Lenin. There's not a smidge difference between them. In fact, the biography I have by the former general about Lenin, it's actually pretty good. Um, Oops, daisy. Randy's probably calling me. But what is it? No, it's not audiobook. I just need the book. Where is the book? Lenin. It's Viktor Stebechin. Lenin, the man, the dictator. What is this? This is it was a vintage reprint of 2018, but I think it was published like in 1990s, I remember correctly. I'll put the link in there for people who need to have the link. It is a very good book. If you want to hear Lenin is not the wonderful boy that everyone thinks he is. He's a monster. And I think this is the thing that we're going to have to hide on. I really don't know what to say in that sense. I think that's going to be cool. We're in there at the hour. I hope people liked what they've done. We have 3 likes so far and 4 people here. Not many people. We'll see you guys next week. I have to hope people say something in that sense. Oh, I just need to say something. I have to go find Democratic Knot. I have to go find an EPUB of Democratic Knot Geshetts. I can't find it. I thought I had a copy. It went missing, and I'm kind of like pissed off. So I have to go hunt it down. So, okay, if anyone knows about something like that, yay, please think about me. Okay, that's it. I hope to see you guys next week. Please go follow the channel. We're doing, again, the live doing videos right now at 6. Probably another video on the discourses. Machiavelli. So we're there. I hope you guys have a good time. Go again, please hit the like button if you're viewing this after the fact. Say something in comments with any questions or concerns or comments you want to raise, and that I can respond to in the next thing. Another thing you can do is you can follow me on social media. The links below. You want to follow me about academic stuff, the academic social media links below that. And if you want to help and contribute anyway, you can do so by buying one of the books listed below, or the Amazon Kindle that I list in the live stream chat. I hope everyone have a good weekend and take care. We're under an hour today, so okay. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.